Hello and welcome out to this week's episode of Outbreak Gamers. I'm your host, David Anthony, or WebDave is my gamer tag, and I am here with the one and only DREADPOOL. Dread, how you doing, buddy?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Oh, dude,
Excited to be
it's
here.
my pleasure, man. My pleasure to have you. I'm so glad. We fortunately work on a show together with Mr. Boomstick, doing the panel members for Breakfast with Boom, and I love it. And I've had a few of the other guys on the show on, and I'm like, I gotta get Dread on. Gotta get Dread. You definitely get up kind of early sometimes, don't you?
Actually, I get up kind of late.
Oh, is that
I,
what it is?
yeah, I wake up at like 6, 7 o'clock in the afternoon.
Oh, there you go. There you
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
So you're
So
winding down your day at this point. Is that what you're telling me?
that's usually what it is. Yeah,
Wow. Well, there you
that's
go.
usually what happens. And then that's the reason why is because I start roughly about 8 o'clock at night. So I'm on a 12-hour shift from everybody else.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Definitely.
work through the night, and
Hmm.
then obviously by the time you see me on Fridays, I've already worked into my overtime and checking out and trying to do stuff. And there's been times that I've still being at work, with everything that goes
Oh
on.
wow. Yeah. Yeah. Well,
So
yeah.
I usually get my sleep after that. So
Well, that makes a little more sense because I know the other day you were we were on Boom and you were like, like, on my eighth cup of coffee, and I'm like, Jesus, that's a lot of coffee to have in the morning. But you were you were finishing out the day, I'm sure.
yeah, I was done with the day and I was trying to stay awake so that way by the time the show happens, I didn't fall asleep.
Right. Right. Exactly. I get that now. It's all making sense now. I know that I've been catching your feeds the last couple of days. You've been working on Halo, and well, working, I guess, more or less with your upgrading the little 4K is what you're talking about, and the footage looks really good, by the way. I just wanted you to
Oh,
know that.
appreciate it. You,
So
you
yeah.
know, I got to tell you though, I got a complaint with YouTube on this one.
Oh.
You
Okay.
watched the 4K footage, and then when
Right.
we switched from Halo, we went to Dying Light, the first one. We went to Sea of Thieves and Gears 5.
Right.
Looks great. Looks beautiful. I actually looked on the phone. It was in 4K. I know everything was going through. I'm looking at OBS. OBS is in 4K. Output is at 4K. Everything's good to go. I went back today. They took out the 4K.
That's weird.
Yeah, so everything's back down to 1440p 60. And I was like, wait a second, I had 4K 60. I know there was a little bit of a hiccup, but everything looked good. Everything was still there. And then it took a while for it to process. And once they processed it after the live stream,
Look good.
it was gone.
That's so
So
bizarre.
yeah,
Well,
it's so
maybe it's a
bizarre.
glitch on their side.
And then this morning when you came in, I thought I was doing 1440, or I'm sorry, I thought I was doing 4K 60.
Right.
I looked down and it was 1440p. For some reason they I don't know what they're doing, but you know, and I
Right.
even during the stream I'm looking at it going, wait a second, this is 4K going out.
Yeah.
So ah, it
I
it,
don't
it
know.
happens, I guess.
Yeah,
Uh,
maybe, because I know there was well, like and this may have nothing to do with it, but I know like sometimes like if there's a presentation from from like Xbox or whatever, they'll say you know come back. The live presentation is lower res, but go back and watch the uploaded 4K. That looks better. So I don't know if it's a matter of the streaming is compromising it, or maybe it's something you'll have to reload in 4K. I don't know.
I
That's
don't
just
know.
a guess.
Yeah, that's the thing. I have to figure out what's going on. I um I may have to record and re-upload later on for 4K. It'll be a second video though. I don't want to confuse people with
Of
that
course.
either.
Right,
Um,
right, 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 right.
so it's one of those weird things. I could always record it in 4K and then upload it, but am I not big enough for YouTube to keep 4K going? Maybe they're like, why is this idiot on here? He's got too much bandwidth that he's killing us on.
That's funny.
He's
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, it is what it is.
Well, we'll get
We
those
make do
numbers
what
up
we
above
can.
100K, and then they won't have to worry about it, right?
Yeah,
That's
if
it.
we can get there, right?
Exactly. We'll get you there. We'll help you. We'll help you get there. So let's get things started here, Dred. With the I guess, to get people more about what they, to know about you. That's kind of what this series is about, is to kind of get to know gaming influencers. I guess. So, what kind of like jobs and stuff have you had in your, career as you've gone through life, as it were?
Well, I grew up in a restaurant,
Nice.
so family owned restaurant. Um, just grew up. I was what 10, 8 or 10, somewhere around there. And going out there and being a busboy, and later on, trying to do the washing dishes, be a dishwasher. But I wasn't really a dishwasher because I could only do so much. Seeing that, if you're standing on a milk crate to do that stuff, it's really not safe on a wet floor.
Not
So
really.
my dad kept me out there, to be a busboy. And, for the most part, most of the ladies loved it because it was cute. You got the little busboy.
Oh,
And, but I, I really, I don't know. I made some money, but it wasn't one of those things that, when you're a kid, you don't know what you're making. You don't know what,
right.
and it's family. Family, my dad's giving
Yep.
me money anyway, but we did all that. So we had a restaurant that when you walked in, to the right was a bar, and to the left of the hostess stand was the rest of the restaurant. And on Sundays we would have a buffet.
Ooh,
So it
nice.
was the whole brunch buffet. And I remember one of the waitresses that we had there. This was the Jerry Lewis. Remember when they would do the Jerry Lewis telethons? I
Oh,
know
yes.
they still sort of do that, but I don't see it like
Yeah,
who
the Labor
watches
Day
TV anymore.
marathons. Yep.
So
For muscular dystrophy, that was big.
yeah. So they actually had the waitress arrested and taken to the jail, and she had to get donations to bail her out.
Oh,
And
yeah.
she was waiting a table.
Oh, my goodness.
She was waiting a table, and the cops came in, and they did the spiel, and they took her away. She got like probably I'd say I'm gonna this is all guessing here. I know she
Yeah.
got a huge tip. She probably got like $100 tip from the
Nice.
table because of this whole scenario. My dad bailed her out, but my dad's
Right.
the same one that arrested her. Had her arrested. So
Right.
they
All
pulled
for
the
charity.
same thing on him. So, but we have a little bit of humor and comedy in our family when it comes to stuff like this. Joking around. And my dad's more on the "don't cross me" kind of humor, and my
Yeah.
mom's more on the "ha ha" kind of humor. So
Yep.
and with that, I grew up in a bar. So imagine at 12 years old walking into a bar because my dad owns the place. What are you going to say? I'm the owner's son. So we used to sit there and and this is like the first public, I guess, gaming that we could do when it came to electronic gaming, and that was the poker machines.
Ooh, nice.
So my brother and I would sit there, we would pop quarters and play, and we'd lose all the quarters. My dad didn't care because it wasn't like we were paying out. We were idiots, just little kids not knowing anything and popping quarters and trying to figure out how to play. And we'd look around the screen and be like, "Oh, that's what a royal flush is. Okay, what do I have?" So stuff like that. But I also grew up in another country while I was growing up here. So we'd go back and forth between here and Europe. And
Nice.
over there, drinking is a human right. So growing up in a bar, I'd have, Coke or cherry Coke, and they put the grenadine in there, and, the original cherry Coke,
Exactly.
and then over in Europe where it didn't really matter. So, imagine, as we move along into history, of family restaurants and this and that as we go on, and still being a busboy and being a host, doing all these jobs for the family. And then eventually going in and walking into a bar and hanging out, and they're like, "All right, you got to go, kid." For what? You can't be in here. For what? I'm not drinking. I'm just having a seltzer here, just some water or something. Yeah, you can't be in here.
Got to be
So
tough.
It's perplexing when you don't understand why.
Right.
It's like that's not how I live. I'm like, I can go out here and, as a kid, you know, my grandfather used to he used to have um, grapevines, and he apple orchards and pear orchards. I mean, we'd have all
Right.
this stuff. I still talk about, my dad. When he was 5, he'd sleep up in a tree watching over a herd. So he's from the old country. So doing all this stuff, and then seeing all this stuff. So you know, you go, and your grandfather's the one that makes the wine by foot, literally by foot. And
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I want some of that too. Thinking you're an adult and you're still a kid. They give you this little shot glass of half wine and half water, and
Right.
you thinking, oh, I'm a big person, but they also taught us you have to sit down and eat. You have to do this. You have to do that. And
Right.
that was the main thing, was everything we didn't do it behind my dad's back. We didn't do it behind our parents' back. They were pretty lenient when it came to stuff like this. So that's how, when I'd go to work for him. It was nowhere near what he used to do, but it was the same thing. Like, yeah, this is my boy. This is what he's doing. He's figuring out how to earn his living. So it was always uh, a hard work ethic. You know,
Right.
I mean,
That's
everybody
good.
wants to be lazy and have money, but
Sure, we do.
at some point in time, that gets boring. You want to do something, and
Does it really?
that's how it's
I'm
been
just
for
kidding.
me. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, if I hit the lottery, I'd be doing stuff, but
Right.
it wouldn't be work. It would be some fun stuff that I would turn into work.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Some kind of adventure or something like that that
Quite
piques your
literally
interest.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
quite literally that. Because
Nice.
that's what I used to do. When I wasn't working, I would travel, because going back and forth to Europe, we were used to that, and then I would travel around. So we'd hit a couple places here. We'd go over here, go over there, do this, do that.
Right.
So yeah, we had a great time traveling. We had a uh, one of my high school reunions. We had to put down like different places we'd lived,
Mm.
and I put down every place that I lived over a year, and they're like, "Wow, you've been all over the place." Oh no, I haven't. I just just here and there. What did you do? I'm like, I can't talk about it. And then because of what I was doing at the time, I seriously couldn't talk about it, because it would lead into other issues.
Right.
And then they would look at me, and I'm like, no, this is not burn notice. I'm not a
That's funny.
spy. I'm not this. I'm not that. Might be cool, but that's not me.
With a name like DREADPOOL, it must be a spy. That's it.
Shh.
Shh. We will
Yeah,
not talk about this.
that's why I wear a mask.
I knew it. You're a superhero. Dun dun
Shh. Yeah.
dun.
Ta-da.
Oh,
I
goodness.
am the law. What?
Man, I wish I had that soundbite right now. That'd have been perfect. Oh goodness. to slice the loans. I
Yeah.
am the
I
law.
am the law. But yeah,
Yeah.
so I've worked fast food places. I've worked um, unofficially in some automotive shops. I work, and these are speed shops, not
Not retail.
not retail. No, speed
Nice.
shops, little mom and pop. Basically, a couple friends, they created a speed shop, and then I'd go there and hang out and work on some cars and do this and that, and we'd work on cars in the garage, and got into drag racing.
Ooh, that's awesome.
So yeah, we had fun with that. I still got the car. Still sits here.
That's cool. That's
Yeah.
cool. I know, like, I live in Kentucky, and we have like the Kentucky Motor Speedway, and there's a couple of drag tracks, out there too, and then a lot of fun
Yeah.
to
I,
watch.
I drove all the way up to South Carolina, and there was a speedway there. I drove over there, and they got rained out. And I was like, all right, come back again another day. And they're like, um, it was the funny part was because they're like, what are y'all going to race? This car. I'm driving it. Oh boy, these boys are going to love to see that car go. You can do pretty good. I was like, I do this, and they're like, wow, okay, that's pretty impressive for an import
Nice.
because it's a Nissan that I was driving, and so it was fun. This isn't like the baddest ass car that's gonna.
Right.
It wasn't that. It was more of a hobby, having a good time with
Hmm.
it, comparing myself to other drivers, and I'm like, why this guy's got this, and this, and this, and this mod. I've got
Yeah.
this and this thing, but and then I'm like, looking at these guys, looking at their numbers, and my one buddy that we ended up sort of starting a business, but it didn't officially happen. We were actually creating a website too for imports and getting aftermarket parts in, and we were creating all this stuff, and it just obviously with the way things go, if it doesn't hit right away,
Right.
it falls apart. We had people emailing us, messaging us, I can't wait to see this happen. I can't wait. And these are strangers that were watching us. We had no idea, so I'm like, why is this like this? I don't, I'm not understanding this, because in essence, they should have like better numbers than they actually have. And he's like, no, they're good numbers. I was like, really? Then why are my numbers like this? He's like, oh, you're just a better driver. And I was like, but
There you go.
I'm new to this. He's like, yeah, they don't know what they're doing. I went to a
That's funny.
test and tune track. It was an eighth mile, and you had all the Hondas out there. And one guy I knew that was out there had a Nissan like mine, and so he's hanging out with all of them, and they're poking jabs at him because he didn't have a Honda, he didn't have a Civic, and I'm sure, I don't know if you've noticed, but I don't do it all the time, but every once in a while I poke jabs at Civics because of that. So we go to I bring my girlfriend at that time. We go to the track and drive around. I see them and hang out, and they're kind of looking slant eye at me. I was like, what, whatever. And so I go, I do my run, I come back. I'm like, fuck, this sucked. Oh man, I can't believe it. I pushed too hard. I could do better. And the guy's like, what'd you do? And I was like, here's my number. And he's like, and they're all like, no way. And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, I didn't do good. And they're like, there's no way you hit that number. So I show them my slip, and their jaws just dropped. It's like, okay, so he is right. Probably these guys suck at driving.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, it's like I said, it wasn't a test and tune. It was a street. What the heck? They only prep the track like once every so often. It's not even a test and tune. It was just basically a street race on the track. It
Nice.
was what it was.
Right.
They
Right.
do the one run on there to clean it, get the grip on there, and that was it. After so many runs, you had no grip.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was it, VHT wasn't there anymore.
Oh wow.
But yeah, we had a good time. We had
Sounds
fun.
like fun. I used to, well, up till recently, about 3 months ago, I sold my 2015 370Z,
Oh,
and
nice.
I
Sucks.
love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
but the reason I sold it is because they paid me several $1,000s more than what I paid for it a couple of years before, because apparently it was in high demand with the current market.
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
so traded it in and got my wife a new car, and I'm working toward getting me another car in a few years. But
Have you seen the
doesn't
new ones?
be daddy. Yes, yes. Well,
Oh,
they're very nice.
the
The
on-
what,
the only
400s or
thing,
whatever.
yeah, the only thing I want to do would be to, if I don't get that one, uh, I would definitely give up my car for Godzilla.
Okay.
If I can get one of those, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just, who can afford $120,000 car?
Oh, I know. I know. I had a friend of
I
mine
mean,
who really wants those GTRs, and I'm like, oh man, that'd be nice, but can't afford it.
Yeah, yeah.
Even an old
I mean,
used one beat up can't afford it.
because I remember it was like, oh wow, it's 80,000, and it's like, yeah, that's just the bottom line
Right.
base, nothing. And it's like, well, what's the Nismo one? 120 plus. Oh, I still want it.
Right. Yeah. I can still want it.
Still want it. If I won the lottery.
Exactly. Now, if I just played the lottery, that's the
Yeah.
key.
Well, that's the problem is I always forget to play. And when I forget to
Right.
play, my numbers would have hit, and I'm like
That's
looking
always the
over, I'm
case,
like,
isn't
it just zeroed out again. I was gonna
it?
play.
That's funny. That's funny. Yeah, they say you got to have a routine down of just like I believe it's just like $5 a week every week. Just go in and play your same numbers, and
Yeah,
then
you know how
that's
many
at
people
least you
I
have a
know.
chance.
Yeah, you know how many people I know have played those same numbers, and the one week they forgot to play, those numbers hit.
Oh yeah, yep, yeah,
Several, too many. It's just it's such a shame that it happens like that. It's like man,
yeah, yeah. And for
but
some reason, when you try and tell them that, well, here's my $5 because I would have won, they don't really want you to. They won't, once that deadline is done, they won't let you go back and
yeah, you
clean
can't.
up your mistake.
There's no retroactive. I
Right.
come in here every day.
Come on, you know that. You know me. Give me my numbers. Too funny. Too funny. So what? I guess. What else did you get into after that, or is that kind of leading up
Oh,
to
that
what
that
you've?
was that was actually more recent. I
Okay,
if we backtrack a bit,
just a little bit. Sure.
yeah, we can backtrack. I got into, which is, and I know people who have seen my face. Um, there has been a face reveal, so everybody's seen it. I've been on video. I post pictures, so people know what I look like now. But I ended up getting into modeling.
Wow. There you go.
So I was modeling, and I was actually on Entertainment on the catwalk. I
That's
was on
awesome.
TV.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah.
What?
So that
Well, all I can say is I made that comment one time before the show started on Breakfast with Boom. That the reason, or I was right when the show started. I said the reason me and Boom are on camera and you guys aren't is because you guys are so good looking that you're gonna that you make us look bad.
so
It was true.
yeah,
Well, thanks for because I have a
yeah,
face
well,
for radio. Just saying, but yeah,
yeah. So I did that for a bit. I wasn't, and then I was also trying to do with the modeling. I was trying to do commercials,
yeah,
and I was doing some reads. And obviously, when you're young, you're thinking, I'm going to be funny. I'm going to be risky, and I'm going to show my talent. So I'm going to read a feminine hygiene product for that. Yeah. So it's like, hey mom, do you, you know what I mean?
yeah,
And the worst part was a few other guys did the same thing. So it's like, well, I'm not the only one standing out now. It's
right,
like now there's like three or four of us looking like idiots when we could have read the normal one for that was designed for guys, because you basically push yourself out of it. They weren't looking for a guy to read that. They were looking for a woman.
right.
They were looking for a guy to read this other one, and we didn't read it. And yeah, but when you're young like that, you do stupid stuff. You have a good time, playing around and trying to figure it out.
Right. Yeah.
After that, I ended up um, we were going to, I was what, in my 20s, so we were going to bars, and that's when the 1940 swing started becoming popular. So we started. A friend of mine would practice with a few friends of ours,
Mm-hmm.
and we would go around and do dance moves. Well,
Cool.
I wasn't taught, so I was just doing stuff. I was doing the movements. I was in the right position, but come to find out, I'm a street dancer. I'm not a trained dancer. I'm a street dancer, is what they call it.
Right.
So we'd go and we would learn all these swing dance moves and do this and do that, and we were doing all these tricks. And then we go, there was a well-known country club by us, about an hour away or so, and we would drive there, and I'd sit there and have a beer and just watch. And, it got to the point where I was like, I'm tired of doing this. I'm going out there, meet some people. And that's, and all of a sudden I started realizing they're doing, I can't remember if it was the East Coast or West Coast for country. I think it's the West Coast, because I think the East Coast is where it's a pair where they walk around in a circle doing moves, and the West Coast would be the um, like actual swing dancing technically, even though it wasn't
Right.
swing. So they have their own moves. So we would do those moves with those girls, and they were like, "Where did you come up with this?" It's like, "I swing dance." And so we would do stuff like that, and we would learn from them country moves, and then we would go back to the swing clubs in another club, and we would take those country moves there and do those, and we'd mix up the two styles into one, and just kind of became popular because they were like, look at these guys doing this stuff. Look, in the meantime, we weren't doing like the really fancy stuff. It was just because we were doing something that nobody else was doing. And they were like, this isn't like 1940s. What is this? And it's like country. And then we go to country and they're like, this isn't country. What is this? 40s, So, but, we had fun just going back and forth doing that stuff.
Right. Right.
You
Sounds
know,
like it.
we would go and, we'd go in groups too, and we'd have our friends, especially with the country clubs. So we'd go there, and we'd have friends. We'd have our friends' sister or sisters, or and we'd be like, anytime someone goes around and like group of guys just surround, they're like, "What are you doing?" And they're like, "Can you guys stop? I can't even talk to nobody." You're like, "No, you can't."
Protecting her, right?
Yeah, exactly. So one of my friends, he was an actor, and his little sister was also an actor, and they would do these musicals. And I always, I was modeling. I was like, that'd be cool, because I'm trying to do stuff like this too.
Mm-hmm.
I was never a thespian in school. I was never any of that stuff. I was complete opposite. I was in ROTC, flat
Mm-hmm.
top,
Hmm.
high and tight. That was me, back then. I was actually in high school the XO, so
Very
second in
cool.
command by the time I was a senior, which yet again, complete opposite from everything else I do. I do everything backwards. It's just what you're supposed to do, I don't do, and you'll see it's a recurring theme.
All through
So,
life, huh?
right, I go to a country club and I do 40s, and I go to a 40s club and I do country. So I find different ways to meld stuff and do it my own way, even though it's not the way it's supposed to be. But we have fun with it.
Right.
So they, the little sister at one point in time was in a show, and they were in rehearsals. Well, they lost a few dancers and they were having a hard time. And she's like, "Hey, my brother's friend, he does this stuff." And the director's like, "All right, bring him in. Let's see what." And I was like, "Okay, let's do this. Let's." I'm like, "What do we do?" And she's like, we'll just do the swing dance stuff and show. So I started doing stuff, and I would flip her around my arm, and people were like, "How the hell did you do that?"
That's
It's like,
awesome.
um, this and this and this. It got to the point where he's like, "All right, you can dance, but can you sing?" And I was like, "Huh." And this is also the same time the karaoke craze happened.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So guess what? I'm like, "Hey, I do karaoke, so I think I can sing pretty good. I can harmonize with people."
Right.
And he's like, "All right, but how do I know you're not going to get stage fright, because you can't drink when you're doing this?" I was like, "I don't have to drink." And he's like, "All right, well, sing me a song." Uh, uh,
What'd you
you know what I
sing?
mean?
Yeah.
Talk
Yeah.
about being put on the spot. But and this guy here is a famous director. He was like famous for being in Fiddler on the Roof.
Ooh,
He's
wow.
done. Yeah, he's like well known, and he's he's in the, what the heck's it called? He's in the Actors Guild and all that. So it's like, wow, not the actors,
SAG.
but yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So his wife is also well known. She even did a one woman show for something that she had written up. So these people are like connected.
They're in the business.
Yeah. So and
Yeah.
here I am, and I'm like, uh, I couldn't even think of anything to sing. I couldn't even think of any words, let
Right.
alone what song to sing. So you're gonna love this one, right?
Okay.
I said, "How about Happy Birthday like Marilyn Monroe?" Guess what he said to me?
Go for it.
Yes. He said, "Okay, do it." And he like crossed his hands and leaned into the table. Now I'm like on the spot.
Yeah, you're there.
So I'm like, all right, I got the balls to do this. I said it. I'm gonna have to do it. So I did it. And he's like, all right, you can carry a tune. So like, whoo.
That's pretty funny.
So yeah, I mean, so and here's the beauty of it, right? Because I did that, I never had to audition for him. That
Oh,
was my
that's
only
cool.
audition.
Wow.
I got the rest of the shows that I did for him was, hey, I want to do this show. Not a problem. I got a spot for you.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean? So that
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
beautiful. It was awesome. He also, because I was doing stuff like that with the dancing, and he came to me and asked me to do some choreography. We did a Red Hot Ragtime, so I had to come up with some choreography for the show.
Cool.
So I did two different numbers, and I was in the show on top of
Right,
that.
right.
And this is a dinner theater, so you
Very
sing,
cool.
dance, act, and you do it all there while the patrons come down and sit there and eat and watch you do your stuff. And then you have your intermission. They get their intermission, and then you go back in and you do your part two, and go from there. So that was a blast.
Sounds like it
They,
was fun
they
as
had
hell,
me,
dude.
yeah, they had me come back and do a tribute to Irving Berlin.
Wow,
So
that's
I had to
cool.
do yet again, not only act, I had to do choreography because of what I was doing, when they first brought me in the first time.
Right, right.
So, and the first show that I did was um, West Side Story.
Sweet.
So, you know, I know nothing. I'm just here doing my part. And because I am darker in complexion, even though I'm a mix, um, I was a Puerto Rican, so I was on that side, and
Very cool.
I was all right, cool.
You were in the knife fight?
Yes, we did
Nice.
that. Well,
That's
the
awesome.
funny part was, um, the Bernardo's best friend, he got hurt, so he couldn't do like his fighting scenes. So
Okay.
I would do a fighting scene, and then I have to run around and then come back and do my fighting scene. So I would like in and out from one side to the other. I'd go out stage
Wow.
right and come back in stage left. And
Right,
I was like,
right.
all right, because I got to do his stunts for him. I got to literally run. I'm like, you guys got to clear the way so I can run through without actually trampling dun, 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 dun,
Yeah, knocking over
to
people.
get to the other side. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because it's all staged up. If I can't run light on my toes without making a sound, I can't have people there. And so
Right.
did that. Well, the guy that played Bernardo got hurt. He apparently was practicing his dance moves. I want to say play basketball, but he was practicing his dance moves and twisted his ankle where he can't
Ooh.
walk. So the director looks at me and goes, "You're his understudy." do you want to come? Do you want to do this, or do you want to have somebody else come in and read from the script? Because he would have to stand on stage and literally read out of the script. And I was like, well, we can't do that. But I had no idea I was his understudy.
Yeah.
I had no idea. So I had to do that
Thanks,
too.
boss.
Yeah. So then I had for 2 weeks, I was Bernardo in there doing that. And then when he was able to come back, he was coming back in, and then I was still doing his stunts because he couldn't do the stunts. And then he would get in
Right.
the way
Oh.
and save me, but he would end up getting stabbed and die. You know what I mean? So that
Yeah.
we had to manipulate the script a bit to do this stuff, but it was fun. We had a blast. We had
Dude, it sounds like it was absolutely
oh,
a
it
great
was it
time.
was great. I still talk to some of these guys, and so when it comes to all that, and it's always funny because the best one, the funniest one, right, was Best Little Whorehouse in Texas.
Oh, I love that.
Burt Reynolds and Dolly Parton,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah. Yeah. Seen
So
it.
yeah, uh, so I'm like, I'm an Augie on this one. I'm like, all right, cool. So we're for those that don't know, an Augie is one of the football players. So I was the
Right.
college age football player, and so we did our thing and we did our dance and this and that, and then we had the intro we had to figure out, and they put up the house, and the house was just like a silk screen, but we all had like different spots in the background that we could stand to be to make it look like in the house.
Right.
And they all he gave the director gave everybody like positions, right? So the silhouette, so you can see the stuff. He's like, I ran out of moves, I don't know what else to do. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, what? No. He's like, what do you want? I was like, it's not that what I want. I was just trying to think of something different that would be like, because you got, I don't know if I can really can I say it here? Like,
Yes. Of course.
okay, so you got
Whatever you
you got the standard missionary where the legs are going up and you see the
Right, right.
yeah, so you got that, the doggy, so you got all these different positions for everybody. So I say, what about a standing 69?
That's funny.
He's like, how would that work? I'm like a 69, only standing.
To load pickup, here's what you do.
So I literally had to tell the girl that I was dancing with that was going to be on in the silhouette with there, and she was usually my dance partner when we danced together.
Right.
So I was like, just trust me on this one. I'm gonna flip you over, and then but you're gonna be like at that position. So I did that, and then we did the rocking back and forth. So that way, what you didn't have to actually simulate more than just us
Right.
moving. And it was. He's like, that's perfect. So we
Oh, that's
literally
so
did that the
funny.
whole time. It was hysterical. It was because it was like the the husbands were like, you can't do this show to their wives because
Right.
you're going to be in lingerie, you're going to be there, and they're wearing stockings, they're wearing this, they're wearing,
Right.
just like we all are. Nobody's really touching anything or anybody, when it comes to stuff like this. And
Yeah.
so they're like, don't worry, everybody in the show is gay. And they're like, okay, I guess. We did the opening show. Literally, when I came out on stage where they can actually see me, I see all these husbands' faces drop. They're like, he's in the show? He's not gay.
But his performance was fabulous.
Oh, yeah, because on the first show, they would have family sit up front.
Oh
So
my
we're like
goodness.
right there. We can actually see them, even though with all the lights shining in our eyes, we can't see anything but the
Right.
first couple tables. Because when you look down, even though you're not looking down, you're trying to like look across and be blinded
Yeah.
throughout the thing and be aware where you're at. But you can, once in a blue moon, you can kind of look down and see who's out there. And yeah, these guys were like not happy. But by the time they realized I wasn't even dancing with their wives, I was dancing with another single lady. So
Right.
it wasn't a big deal, but it was just so funny. Like, you didn't tell me he was here.
That's funny. Well, I don't have any dancings with him, so leave me
Yeah,
alone. That's it. Well, I
but we,
did while we were talking. I got an idea for you for another YouTube channel program, and there we go. See what it says at the bottom now.
breakdancing with Red.
Heck yeah!
Yeah, there
I'm
we go.
sorry. Okay, I took that off.
Hey, I used to do that stuff back in the 80s. We
There you
all did
go.
that
There you
stuff. We
go.
had a music teacher
Mm-hmm.
up in Chicago, and on Fridays she would let us pop out the disc. It was a cassette. So I'm sorry. Whoa.
That's all right. That's all right.
Pop out
Pop
the
in the
cassette
cassette.
and put it in there, and we were doing Electric Boogaloo and breakdancing too, and you know what I mean.
Yes, I
It's
do.
just like, oh my god, you know. But we were doing all that stuff, and we would sit there and we would do this spin on your back and do the pose and do the suck it before suck it was a Triple H thing. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yes, I do. I
So
do.
we would do all that stuff on, and it was great, man. Back in those days, it was so much fun. That's why when I watch um, Fonzarelli,
Oh yeah.
Fonzarelli, yeah, when
Oh
he
yes.
does his stuff, it brings me back. His intro, even
Yes.
though it was, he's in New York, I'm in Chicago, but it brings me back
Oh
to
yeah.
that. I always think about that every time with the intro that he does. It's great, and
Yeah.
you know, you
Yeah,
think about,
Fonzarelli's he's awesome. He's going to
yeah,
be a guest one of these days. He's already committed to that. We're going to let him get some few things worked out in real life, and then we'll have him on before long. So I guess with that with your with the dancing and stuff, and so what where did your career path take you? I guess from there you were pretty much where you are now, or
no.
no? Okay,
I ended up doing a whole bunch of different things. I ended up doing tech stuff. I ended up going to college while
nice.
this was all happening. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so I was doing all this while this was all happening, and then getting into my actual career because the other part of the career wasn't really panning out to be enough money. So I needed something that was more stable,
Right.
and that's you're a starving actor,
Yes.
literally. And I couldn't do that. I there was a both my parents got hurt when I was younger,
Mm-hmm.
so I was actually supporting the family too. And it's one of those things that you don't see much anymore these days or hear about it.
Right.
But I was yet again independent, doing stuff, taking care of family because I grew up with family all around.
Yeah.
You know, like now you have to live with multiple family members because who can live in these days anymore? It's people are struggling, but and that's how it was back in those days too. In the 70s, people were struggling. We had one house, and my grandparents and my aunts and uncles, their families, all living in one house over in Europe until we ended up making money in America and sending it back there to build a house for each one of everybody to
Nice.
economy was different
Yes, it
stuff.
was.
So, but I'm getting used to all that stuff, and so yet again, taking care of my family and try to make sure my brother goes to school, and he ended up going out into the military, and even with the military pay he was getting, he was still sending money to help take care of everything that we were
Wow.
doing. You know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah, family
sending him
first.
money for when he needed it.
Mhm.
It's always been about family first. So, and even with the community, anything happens, family first. Take care of what you got to take care of.
That's right.
We got your back. If you got to be out, so be it. Don't worry, we'll be here waiting for you when we come back. Good to go. So um, so when it comes to that, I ended up, yet again, doing stuff like that, and then still being in the tech industry, which is like complete opposite
Right.
from the creative side.
It's definitely
So
different from dancing, that's for sure.
yeah, right.
That's funny.
So
So how
yeah,
did you get into, let's go with the I guess, if it's cool.
yeah,
How did you get into gaming? What was your first kinda experience with gaming?
that was my mom.
That was
My
your mom?
mom,
Cool.
yeah, that was my mom. My mom was into that stuff. She brought home this machine, and it had like these two paddles that you would put on your chest to resuscitate you.
Wow.
Get your heart
Okay.
pounding, right? But
Yeah. Yeah.
it
Yeah.
only pounded differently
Defibrillator.
because you hooked it up to the TV and you had to like turn the dials, and here you are playing tennis.
Wow. Yeah.
So we were playing pong, and
Very
then
cool.
she ended up when we were here before we moved over there. We ended up getting an Atari 2600.
Ah,
So
that's my
yeah,
starter. Mhm.
so I got a chance to play on the old school stuff, and we brought it over there, and they had somebody convert it to PAL. There was no, they didn't have something like that in the country we were in.
Right.
So we didn't, my uncle over there took it to some tech genius wizard, and he figured out how to convert it to PAL. And we were playing our old Atari games from the US over there
That's
on their
pretty awesome.
TVs. Yeah, so doing that, and like I said, later on we ended up, at the bar over here in Chicago with the poker machine and the arcades. And so back in those days we didn't think about console wars or any of that stuff. "Oh, my stuff's better than yours." No, it's like, which arcade are we going to go to? Are we going to go to the more expensive one that has all the new games that we can only play a couple, or do we go to the cheap one that has all the older games that we can play more of?
Yeah.
So it was like, which one do we go to? It wasn't a this one's better than that one. It was just like, which one do we want to experience the new stuff but limited time,
Yeah.
or go to the other stuff? So arcades, I would, other than home console, arcades was like the place for us to go. That was like, for the longest time, that was like the place to play the flight simulators,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, Afterburner and stuff like that. It was just a good experience, well rounded. There was no, oh, you got this, I got that, I'm better than you. We
Right.
never thought of it like that,
Mm-mm.
And then we ended up going to a friend's house, and they had a Nintendo, and we're like, we're still playing on this Atari. Uh, okay. So get a Nintendo. We go from Nintendo. And like I said, this is all because of my mom. My dad's not, he didn't understand that stuff. He's from the old country.
Right. Right. Put
That's
in his
not
bag.
practical. How are you going to make money with that? There's no way to make money, So it's like you
Right.
grow up to be a doctor or a lawyer or this, or, you know what I mean? It's the old, um, um, what would it, I forgot.
Old school, old mentality.
Yeah, the old mentality,
Hmm.
I can't think of it anyway.
That's all right.
Yeah, but he's I want to say the old import, but it's not the import. He wasn't born here, so he was he had to become a citizen the hard way.
Right.
Go to school, get his citizenship and all that. So
That's awesome.
he had to do that that way. And but that was the whole thing. It was, you have to earn, you have to have a respectable job. I'm the oldest. I had to set the example for everybody. So, doing all this stuff, it was like, what are you doing? I'm doing this, I'm doing that. So it was like, I'm doing this real job here, but I'm also having fun and I'm making money there. So I would, you can't blame me if I'm making money, even if I'm having fun. Okay.
Right.
So yeah, but we had gone from there. Super Nintendo, bought the Genesis, even bought the TurboGrafx on its way out.
Yeah, one of those too.
Um,
Yeah, they were great.
yeah, I only got the one game. 'Cause-
Punks.
yep,
Yep.
yep. So, but yeah, just I skipped out on the Saturn, which I wish I didn't. But it was one of those things where it was like, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? And
Right.
then it's gone.
Yep.
Now the Dreamcast is out, and you're trying to get this thing. But yeah, we had good times playing games and just enjoying it, and having sibling rivalry more so than uh, gaming console
Right.
rivalry.
Yeah. 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 I get you.
Go to a
That's
friend's
cool.
house, they had this console. They come to our house, we had the other console. Back in those days, you had one game for maybe 6 months. And then you're lucky to get one for Christmas or your birthday.
Those game cartridges were expensive back then too.
Yeah, yeah. And if you bring it up for inflation, they're even more expensive.
Yeah.
So,
Mm,
so you think about one of those games, which I forget what was it? Was it Secret of Mana, Final Fantasy? There was like $100,
yeah.
and that was those days, $100.
Hmm.
So I get it. We're privileged now. You know,
Seems like it, yeah. But it's nice.
it's nice,
Yeah.
and the beauty is we have access to play everything and anything now compared to what But we
Right.
look at those games now, we're like, man, it's so hard. Well, we only had that game to play.
Yep.
Then you had the Game Genie, which taught you how to stop playing the game and learn how to get to
Cheat
the
a
end.
little.
Yeah, yeah. But Game Genie, Game Shark, all those. But
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
we did the PlayStation. Um, Played a lot of those games. Yeah, because PlayStation was like our jam back then. The PlayStation One,
Hmm.
and then we the Nintendo 64. We did a lot of the wrestling there. A lot of the the Nintendo games we did obviously there. Um, I skipped the PlayStation 2 because it was a lot of JRPG and it was a lot of stuff I wasn't interested in.
Right.
And then the Xbox came out, and I was already on Dreamcast anyway. So Xbox comes out, and it was a natural transition.
Yeah, definitely felt like it. Yep.
Yeah, and then just kind of went from there. I was yet again I was traveling again, and with all the traveling I had so many uh, hotel stays that I ended up getting a black card and having enough reward points to get a PlayStation 3.
Nice.
So I skipped the 2 and and I technically haven't bought a 3 yet at all,
There you go.
but I earned one through the stays. Yeah, I used to live in Key West for
Ooh,
like
nice.
5 years to get down there, trying to, working down there. And
Hmm.
like I said, there's certain things in my job that I can't talk about, even though
Fair enough.
uh, as much as I want to, because it's
Yeah, yeah,
cool
yeah.
stuff. It's like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
stuff that, there's stuff, like I said, it's all technical. But
Yeah.
guys, these guys were trained in these devices,
Hmm.
and I wasn't. But I'm
Hmm.
sitting there and I'm like, what about this? What about doing this? What about doing? They're like, hold on, we got to do it like this, this, and this. I'm like, well, you can just do this and get you here. And I'm like, because I'm thinking logically.
Hmm.
So when it comes to logic, it's like boom, 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 boom. This leads to this, leads to this, and here's your answer. And they're like, how did you figure that out? Like, it just makes sense. You just common sense for me. It's like this,
Right.
and this. 1 plus 1 is 2. Plus 1 is 3.
It can be.
And that's how it was for me with college. One plus
Nice.
one is 2. Okay, plus 1 makes 3. Well, how did we get to 2? Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's
What's
that's how
wrong with you, man?
my classmates were in
Oh,
college.
it's
Right?
funny.
They had people recording it with the recorders, the camcorders.
Right.
So a lot of times I'd show up for roll call. We go to break, and I'd sit down next door. They had an arcade with a little snack bar,
Ooh,
so I'd
nice.
go there and I was playing Mortal Kombat. And then all of a sudden, the arcade was quiet. It was like weird, huh? Okay. You keep on playing, popping in more quarters, and you're playing, and all of a sudden the arcade got full again, and it was loud. It's like, oh, must be break time again. And then all of a sudden when it gets quiet, it's like, all right, we got to go. So we go back in for the roll call for the end of the day,
Yeah.
And I had people that were my lab partners, and they're like, hey, how come he can take the test? He hasn't been here. He's only been here for roll call. He shouldn't be able to take the test. And he's like, the instructor's like, look, if he hasn't been here, he hasn't learned anything. So obviously he's going to fail. It doesn't matter. He paid for it. He paid for this education that he's going to fail. And this one lab was the best one ever.
Hmm.
We only had so many workstations, so we had to work together in these labs, and do all this stuff. But for the exam, they had to split it up. So everybody sat up at the front of the room, and he'd call off certain names, and those people would sit down at the stations that they told them to sit down at. Well, and then you would present your paper with your findings, and if you got it, he would put an A on there, circle it, and you're out the door. Otherwise, he would put an A on it, scratch it off, and put a B, and then you would go sit back down and try to find out what was wrong, and so forth. So, right, so you get the concept, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm the last one to sit down on the first set of people. People have already started, the first set have already started working. I sit down, boom, I get the answer. This can't
Nice.
be it. This can't, I mean, literally within 5 seconds, I find it. This can't be it. So I trace what I'm doing this way. No, that's the answer. Can't be it. I trace it over this other way. Come back to the same answer. All right. Well, you could also go up to the instructor and ask him questions, like a certain question, and he
Mm-hmm.
would, within reason, tell you like certain information or not.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, oh, he must have a question. He must have a question. He looks at it. A. I walk out the door. So the test hasn't even been going on for 5 minutes. I'm out the door.
That's
That door has
awesome.
the little window.
Mm-hmm.
So as the door closes, I look through the little window and I look at them all looking at me like in disbelief. And I flip them the double bird.
Oh, it's fun. You mean the thumbs up? Yeah, I got
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But
That's awesome.
I'm like, you guys, but when you deal with stuff like that, you get tired of it. And
Sure.
that's so yet again, arcades are where I did a lot of my gaming back in the days. And that's even with college and all this and that. Here we
Yeah.
are now with the Xbox. I still don't have a PS5 yet, but
I do.
I'm trying to get it. And it's just,
Yeah.
I decided, you know what? I'm probably not going to play it as much. I should probably let like a hardcore PlayStation fan get it instead
Yeah.
of me getting it, right? So I figured I'd do that, and it's like, all right, cool. But now I'm really getting that FOMO of I want to play some of these games. They finally have enough games out there that I
Right.
do want to play. If I was going to play one game, why have the console just sit there collecting dust? Somebody else
Right.
could get it and enjoy it and have fun. So now there's quite a few of them that I want to get down and try this out. I'm not going to blow into into the controller though. I'm telling you
Right.
right now.
Yeah, I'm with you. The dual sense. A lot of games I go in and the first thing I do is I'll turn that off. If it's a game that doesn't require it, but it's like they put it there as a fun feature, like they added it to what was it, Cyberpunk 2077 when the update happened, and they added it in on the PlayStation 5, and it's like it just feels like I'm just I don't know, it feels like a garbage disposal grinding when you when you squeeze the triggers for driving. I'm
Yeah.
like, had to turn that crap off. I'm like,
I,
I'm Rumble features fine. I don't need this for that game at least.
yeah. I mean, I can understand it, but when you're in the heat of the battle,
Yeah,
something going on, if you're trying to pull a trigger and the trigger is not doing, I'm afraid I'd break it.
yeah,
Thinking that what's going on, not realizing it's fighting against me on purpose because of the
yeah.
programming.
Yep.
So I've got that fear because I'm going to probably do the same thing. Leave the rumble on, but leave the force feedback and all the enhancements off.
I mean, for some games, like bow and arrow type thing, that's cool because you feel the tension and
Right,
it
right.
pulls back.
You know where to stop.
But for some games, it's like they just threw it in there to throw it in there, and it's like there's no point in that. That's a feature that's not needed on all games, but it's cool, I guess, for its purpose. So let's kind of gear into you're on several shows.
Yeah.
How'd you get into doing the the I guess the podcasting, the different shows that you're on YouTube? Sorry about my dog barking in the background. I'll try and mute when I'm
Oh, I thought
talking.
that was my stomach growling.
Could be, could be. I'm a little gassy. I'm just kidding. But yeah. So how did you get into the channels and to get on to
Okay.
how did Dreadpool become a YouTuber?
Well, Dreadpool's been Dreadpool for a long time before even YouTube even became a factor.
Nice.
So we'll go with that, right?
Yep.
And we have a group of friends that we all play together. We were, some of us were going to go into that car business that we were talking about with the imports and parts, and
Mm-hmm.
and this and that. And I've been talking to friends because yet again, this is the same time around the acting and stuff. And I'm like, we should do skits. We should, I want to write a skit. I literally started writing a skit at one point in time where it was turning into not just a skit, it was turning into a script, right? And I was calling it Karaoke Kings because that was us
Cool.
bouncing around from bar to bar doing karaoke. So
Nice.
and all of a sudden now Hollywood's got that movie with Gwyneth Paltrow doing karaoke. Then you had
Right.
what was that other show? There was another movie. Well, anyway, they ended up doing karaoke in there too with some of it, and it kind of resembled some of the stuff I was writing, and what I was writing was basically based on our life story with what we were doing, so it was based on fact, and theirs was so similar. I was like, well, there's no point in this because this isn't gonna work. But I'm like, well, we can do these other things, and I got a couple other friends that would come up with different ideas. One of them actually came up with a great idea, but our a good friend of ours had passed away, and this person was key to the script, and it was going to be like we're going to make like a little mini series, and like I said, act it all out, do this and that. My role, and I loved the idea. My role was a dual purpose role. I was going to be the warden's number one person. That's going to be, the number one officer, whatever you want,
Right.
right? So I'm going to be straight laced, hard ass, uh, right? Just messing with these inmates left and right. But at the same time, I would also be the savage inmate. So it would be like one of those things that, like, leave this guy alone because he's so crazy. Yeah, right. So I'd have my hair down, my beard all messed up, and just like brute and just grunting and just just omniscience of evil that even the prisoners would be afraid of. And then you go to the opposite spectrum where, like I said, I'm straight laced, hair combed up, beard all nice and neat and trimmed up, and like the opposite person. Like, wait a second, is this the same guy? This can't be this. You know what I mean? Like dual roles, as but completely opposite, and not be the same person. I would play two different roles. Are you catching on what I'm saying? Did I confuse you?
Yeah. No. No. I got you.
Okay, okay. Some people get confused. That's why I was like, yeah, it's not the same guy. But that
Right.
stuff like that. So we had these things written up, and it just, like I said, with her passing, it just didn't work out. He's
Right.
like, I don't care about it anymore. If you want to do something with it, I'm like, no, I can't. This is your idea. This is your character. You assigned to me. Your characters
Right.
you assigned to me that but I love the idea. So it was like a great thing to be able to do to portray both two different characters as me, but yet you know what I mean. So doing
Hmm.
that, we're some comedy skits, and I was always like, we got to do this on YouTube. We got to do this and this, and it's just one thing for this thing and another thing for that thing, and and it sucks because it's sometimes everybody puts it on you when you don't know what to do.
Right.
Back then, who knew how to get on YouTube? Who knew how to do
Right.
any of this stuff? Now we're like, hey, if you have a cell phone, your camera's great enough, right? Back then we had those flip phones with the 240
Yep.
um uh if you're lucky, if it was even 240p, right? Um for your image, and you couldn't do that. It was all pixelized. It wasn't good enough that you could blow it up. So who's got a camera? Who's got this? Who's got editing? Nobody knew anything on what to use for editing. So it's like, all right, let's look this up. Let's look that up. Oh my God, this costs this much. And so it just like everything just didn't pan out. And it was just heartbreaking, I'm like, I can do all these shows, but I can't do one in my own backyard and put it online somewhere. You know what I mean? It's like, And just one day, I ended up going to my friend's house. He lives on the other side of the state, so driving there to do the Star Wars movies. That we always see Star Wars together. It's always one of
Nice.
those things that,
Mm-hmm.
and ever since Episode One, it's been our thing to go see the movies together.
Very cool.
And I see a Blue Yeti. I'm like, what are you doing with this? Oh yeah. I'm doing a podcast with so and so and this other dude. Oh, really? Okay. Okay, I see how it is. They were doing a podcast without me. I'm like, you son of a bitch. Like, seriously? How do you I've been like the like, hey, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. You guys start dragging your feet and leave me to do everything and figure it all out. And I'm asking for help and trying to, because I don't know how do you know what questions to ask when you don't know the questions to ask?
Right.
You know what I mean? So who do you ask that when you, yet again, how do I ask? I don't know who to ask. I don't know what to ask. I don't know what to do. I'm asking you guys. Can you guys come up with something too? Can we, now it's like, yeah, this is what you do. But back then, we didn't know. And here these guys are doing they were actually doing a Call of Duty podcast where they would break down the weapons and their effectiveness and this and that, what they thought of them, if they were good. It fell apart. But that got me, and I was like, you know what? I can't believe these guys. How dare they do this behind my back? These are my best friends, How dare they do this behind my back? So I was like, all right, whatever. I see how it is. I see how it is. But I got in, I also right around that same time, right before all that, that's when I got into YouTube and watching it more and more with the gaming side of it, because I found certain people and they got me into the community because they were talking about going on Twitter and doing this and doing that. And I completely avoided Twitter like the plague. You know what I mean? I didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
I'm already on
Know what you mean.
Facebook. I was on MySpace. I don't need another one. And you can only write so many words. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So it was like, nah, I ain't doing this. And then, like I said, running into people, do this, do that. All right, fine. I'll get on Twitter. I'll do that. And that's literally the stepping stone that got me here, was because of all that. So doing this and listening and interacting with people in the community and creating my own community among the community. It's not really my community, but it's our community. But it's like I have my own little niche of community members that I call Dreadites. So
Nice.
everybody that, yet again, Dreadpool, Dreadites,
Mm-hmm.
huh? But everything fell into place like that. And this is how literally everything fell into place. I was at a job site a couple hours away from work. I saw a post that some on Twitter that certain people didn't show up, and just looking for anybody, right? So we're gonna go back into time. Boom! When
Let's
he
do it.
first started, Breakfast with Boom, right? When he
Mm-hmm.
first started it on Fridays, that was his only show.
Right.
All right. So we were listening to it, and then I saw it and I was like, oh man. So I messaged him because I was, adamant follower. And I was like, I'm like, hey, I don't have a microphone, but I can take a lunch break. I can take an extended lunch break. So this way you have somebody, because everybody he had set up, every single person ditched out on him for whatever reason. And he wasn't going to have a show. And he was like freaking out, you know. I'm sure he wasn't freaking out, but to me, it seemed like he was
Right.
freaking out,
Right.
like, oh no, no show. You can't do that.
Yeah.
So messaged him, hey, he's like, oh, that sounds great. That would be great. And then he messages me back, hey, um, don't worry about it. Italian Clowns, he's going to come in and help me out. I was like, all right. I just, as long as you're covered, I didn't want, I don't want you to like push back your show or have, nothing, nobody there for you. I figured he's like, you know what? Why don't you come on anyway? So Boom is the first one to actually bring me on.
Nice.
I'm in my van, and they're like, "There's some noise. There's a noise. There's a noise." And I'm like, "I don't know what the noise is." I'm on my headset, and I'm on. So I'm sitting there trying to figure it out. We're trying to figure it out, and finally, it's almost showtime. So I got the AC off. I'm in my van. The windows rolled up. Everything closed. I'm in the middle of a parking lot, right? You know what I mean? At this job
Yeah.
site, in the middle of a parking lot, and here I am, this idiot talking on a phone, not on his headset, because for whatever reason, when the headset connected, it would add in some static, and the headset literally, these things that I wear, picks up conversations like 20 feet away. People are like, "Can you walk away from those people that you're standing next to, because I can hear them?" And I'm
Right.
like, "They're like 20 feet away. What are you talking about? I'm standing by myself." You know, so here I am in the van, sweating, dying because of trying to help them out and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Like I said, it was such a your heart drops. You're like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do a show," and no, he's got somebody, so he doesn't need me. And he's like, "Come back, we'll bring you on." I'm like, "Yeah," So doing that and fumbling around, and people are like, because the work van that I'm in has a metal uh, um, a metal wall behind my seat, so it added a little tinniness, and so UK Dazarus was there, and he's like, "Sounds like you're in the toilet."
That's
I'm like,
funny.
"Thanks, Daz. I can't." Yeah, but it was funny. It was a horrible show for me, but that's how it is the first time, right? The first
Yeah.
time you
Gotta get
do stuff
started
like that,
somewhere.
it's always going to be bad, until you develop and get better with just anything that you do. You learn the skills. You learn. Some people pick it up right away. Some people have a unique talent for it. Some people just have to work at it harder. So, but yeah, it's just one thing led into to another, and just kind of going from there. Um, Noof Nukem got on his show, did a few shows with him here and
Hmm.
there. Um, just started hitting up people on different places, and just kind of I would go on vacation, and then I would hit like all these podcasts.
Right.
Right. So right before I hit vacation. So I don't know if you guys want to try that or not, but it seems to work for me. I go on vacation and I'm like, "Hey, I'm going to be on vacation on this day. Do you have anybody? Do you want? Do you need a guest? I'm available."
Nice.
And people would open up and be like, "Yeah, come on on."
That's
So
cool.
there's a whole slew of podcasts that I would go on, and we would, the joke was I was on a tour, because it was like 5 or 6 podcast, almost 5 or 6 podcasts back to back to back.
Yeah.
Sometimes it wasn't like literally back to back, but you do one here or do another one there, maybe 2 back to back, and try to, just trying to get out there, trying to
Sure.
hang out with people that at the time I idolized, because they were yet again a bigger person than me. They were somebody that I was watching, and
Right.
so I'm doing that, and then come to find out that they're just like you and me too.
Yeah.
They're,
Yeah.
and that's, and I've learned that, yeah, there's other people that watch us too, thinking the same thing, and I'm like, "Dude, I'm just another person, just like you.
Yep.
Nothing special." You know,
Well,
I
I mean, you're a little
appreciate it.
special. Come on.
Well, yeah, well, okay. So, but if you
Oh
can only see
goodness.
the face I just made.
Oh,
Uh,
I'd love to.
Rolled my
Yeah.
eyes. Just
That's funny.
picture the eyes rolling behind the shield.
That's it.
So,
That's it. So how did you get hooked up with this the Gaming Beyond the Box, become a panel member? How'd that happen?
um, Wilmy was on a few shows,
Hmm.
and then he decided he was going to, he was, I don't remember the exact way he came about,
Right.
but from my point of view, right, I'd see him on a few shows. He ended up doing his own show. Well, the show included Fork Boy Gaming,
Right.
HR Bomber, Leonatus, and who else was it? Was it just the 4 of them? I think. Oh, and Ghost.
Mm.
So the evil ghost. So that I was like, why am I missing somebody? Something didn't feel right. Sorry, Ghost. I didn't mean to forget you, brother. But yeah, so watching them doing that, and he's still bouncing around, going on different shows here and there too. Guesting, and I've been hanging out with them for over a year, and I did a couple shows with them, and it was funny because all of a sudden ACS Hux gets put on there, and I was like, oh wow, where'd this guy come from? He just like all of a sudden did a show and he's on there. I was like, wow, all right, you know. And after a little bit, I get asked, and it was like, wow, okay. And they're like, it was a natural fit. You've been hanging out with us this whole time,
Right.
you know. So it's just funny because even with Noof, with his gaming after dark, there's people that are, he's like, I need to find somebody because he had Primal Eve with him. She had to like back out. He was like looking for somebody, and everybody's like, "Oh, Dreadpool," and I'm like, "I can't do it. It's so late. I'm working. I can't." So it's like you hear this stuff, and it's like you you really appreciate these people that actually think so much of you to be in a show like this. You know what I mean? To do this, and these are just listeners, and it's like you learn that wow, I have a backing. I have people that really believe in me. And it gives you that appreciation and humbleness. Like you didn't think of it like that. There was
Hmm.
nothing like that. It was like wow. you know and like I said, they invited me on, and it was just funny because literally I get the invitation from Wilmy, and I was like, hell yeah, yeah,
Hell
sounds
yeah.
great. So I'm like, I'm typing it out like, holy cow, I just been invited. I'm a new panel member on Game Beyond the Box, and then I get a message pop up from Boom. I was like, okay, Boom doesn't really message me like this unless because usually when we talk, it's more on the important stuff when it comes to
Hmm.
gaming, and we talk a lot, but not often like
Right.
every day. So when he messages me, it's like I got to see what it is, or what's going on. He's like, hey, do you want to be on Breakfast with Boom as a panel member? I was like, what? Are you kidding me? Two in the same day? Like, okay. Because I told Wilmy, I said, well, I'll make it happen. I said, I just yet again I have to family first. If something happens, sometimes I might not be able to make it because of work commitments. I said, but because of being on a Wednesday at 8 o'clock, I miss out like an hour or two. So that's not a big deal. I work enough overtime that they're not going to miss me for a day or two unless somebody creates a schedule without my knowledge and
Right.
makes me attend on time. So I was like, he's like, dude, family first. Don't worry about it. You do what you got to do. We understand. I was like, wow. Yet again, the same mentality as me, family first. You know. And here's Boom saying the same thing, and I'm like, Boom, this is awesome. Fridays are easy because I already started my Friday 12 hours before everybody else did. I'm usually pretty much done with my Friday before anybody even wakes up. So yeah, it was cool and I still have it pinned as my tweet. My pinned tweet is the same one
Nice.
from when I posted, because I had to go back in and alter it a little bit to add Boom in there too. That I was a panel member for both panels at the same day. It was like wow. So yeah, that's how that fell into place for both of them. You know,
Yeah,
and
I see your pinned tweet, by the
yeah, see,
way.
and we got and that was the funny thing is because the second time I was on Boom's show, right? So and this is a while, like I said, a while back, also before being a panel member anywhere. Second time on Boom's show, he posted out there, "Hey, is there anybody that you guys want to see?" Because I had a guest fall out. Is there anybody that you want to see um, be asked on for
Right.
for a show? So I got a message with my name texted across, and it's I still remember it's Aiden. I don't remember the full thing, but I remember his name is Aiden. Um, And if I recall, Aiden is in Australia, and he had suggested me to be on Boom Show,
Very cool.
right? I mean, these little things that people do that you don't expect, and you remember this, right? You
Oh yeah,
remember stuff like this. This is stuff, and people are just assume that, some people just assume that, these guys are so big they don't remember. No, we remember these little things, these little stepping stones, because of the community, because of what happens, and it's really cool to do that, and then being a panel member of both panels at the same time. I mean, that doesn't happen.
that's pretty cool.
Did. Yeah, right.
That's pretty
So
cool.
yeah.
So how did you come up with your uh,
Breaking bread with
breaking
dread.
breaking bread with dread? I wanted to make sure I got it pronounced right. But
Okay, so breaking bread with dread. I found out in one of the chats, one of the guys, because Italian Clowns I know is about an hour and a half away from me,
mm-hmm.
and so we've been talking about meeting up together, and hanging out, and doing this stuff, and it's all right, cool, just never worked out, just couldn't do it. Well, one of the guys in chat, and one of I want to say it was in one of Boom's chats, he goes by Tempest Sun, which we all know is the same Tempest Sun that shows up on Monday nights when he's able to. So he and I were talking, and come to find out, he also is about an hour and a half, also, but in a different direction. So, and we work almost in the same areas. So it's like, basically, all right, so we've been DMing back and forth. Hey, where you at this time? Where you at this time? Trying to like meet up with all three of us. And finally, it was just one day. It just happened. It was just the Tempest Son and myself met up. I found a place, and he's lived in the area, and he's never been to this place. It was like, really, I found a place that you've never heard of. That's pretty cool. But all right, cool. So we go there, we eat, we're sitting there talking and stuff, and just kind of like this, BSing, talking, and trying to, obviously learn about each other, and establish a friendship, more so than just, hey, what's up? How's it going? Da, 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 da. You're not texting anymore. You're in front of somebody, and you're sitting there eating, and we're talking.
Yeah,
And and I'm messaging with Italian Clowns, letting them know, hey, we're here, we're doing this. It sucks that it just happened this way, that you couldn't make it over here by the time we figured out a centralized location. So as we're done eating, we're parting ways, so he can go back to work, and I was going home because I was already done with that day.
mm-hmm.
um, I started thinking, I was like, what about this would be the podcast? What we just did. Literally, because we opened up, we sat down, we were talking, and while we were eating our food, we opened up and talked about more personal stuff
Mm-hmm.
than we normally would have, because just in a setting like this, yeah, you're doing an interview, so you're
Right.
you're diving deep, but at the same time, I'm at a table, and what's more relaxing than actually sitting down and BSing with somebody when you're eating? And I was like, all right, we should do something with this, dining with dread, and da da da, and finally it came down to um, System of a Down.
Mm-hmm.
They were talking about um, in the song with what was it, something by the tablecloth, which is basically watching the news while you're eating dinner.
Right.
So I was like, tablecloth, breaking bread, there we go. We sit down and we break bread together, and that's literally what it was. That's how it became. Breaking bread with dread. Boom.
Yeah, it works good. I
I
like it.
hit them. I hit them both, and I was like, "Hey, what do you think?" They're like, "I luck it," because at first I was like, "What about this? What about that?" And finally, it was breaking bread with dread. And they're like, "That's perfect."
It is.
So I was like, "All right." Well, obviously, we're gonna have to get the three of us out here. So
Hmm.
I was saving up money because yeah, now I've got a family. It's not like I have expendable cash that I can be like, yeah, you know what? I don't feel like chipping in on this one. I'm gonna spend my money fruitlessly on this toy over here. And
Right, right,
so I was doing my research, trying to figure out what to get. I'm like, I got to get something that I can use and grow with. So I found the microphone recorder that I have. It's the same recorder that these professional interviewers use to interview athletes, to interview other important people in the media, book authors. So it's just like it's a industry um, used recorder. I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. It's going to cost me how much? It's going to be worth it. It's going to be
right.
worth it. And then when I started doing it, I saved up, I got it, and I started testing it, and I was like, oh my God, this is going to be better than I thought. This is going to be so much better than I thought. I flashed back because it has two microphones. One aims to the left, one aims to the right. So if you listen to the podcasts, right, the background noise is across the board. But typically, when this microphone
Hmm.
is recording, one of us is on the left ear and the other one is on the right ear.
Oh yeah.
So if you listen to it in true stereo, we are in true stereo. One of us is in one ear, and the other one is in another ear, literally like that. And I've had people um, like, oh wow, I can't wait. I'm having my breakfast, so I'm gonna listen to Breaking Bread with Red while I'm eating my breakfast. So it feels like I'm actually sitting between the two of you as you guys are talking and eating. And it was like, wow, this is really. Yet again, it's stuff like this that you hear from the community that you
Hmm.
didn't expect,
That's cool.
And I'm flashbacking to when I was in Key West, and it's funny how I brought it up earlier, but I was flashbacking when I was in Key West. We're talking about Hemingway going to sit down at Hemingway's bar, and you're sitting on the stool, and you're like, where did he sit over here? Oh, I wonder which is his stool, right? And you're like, oh, he didn't eat here, he didn't sit here, he didn't drink here. It's Captain Tony's down the street that he sat and ate and hung out, and you know what I mean?
Right.
So when you learn all these facts, and it's like, wow, okay, so all these tourists are going to Hemingway's, and it's not even where he hung out.
Right.
It's Captain Tony's down the road, you know? And then you find, then you go over there, and Elvira has a coffin down there, in the
Cool.
ground. And it's like really cool. The trees growing up through the center of the bar. Um, uh, uh, he sat and he drank there. That's where he lived, and I'm like, that's what I want to do too. We sat down, we ate, we found an iconic place. This is a mom and pop shop we ate at.
Right.
I want that same energy that I had when I went to these places and these people were here and this is where they lived and this is what they did. I want that same energy that if somebody else goes to this place and says, hey, you know what? Hey, Dreadpool and Dave were in Kentucky and they went to this place here and they
Yeah.
ate at this one place. And I wonder which bar stool they sat in. I wonder which booth they sat in. And, you know, and I was like, that would be a cool little connection to us, um, for the listener, for the fan to have a little connection there that they were at the same place like this, because I do that when I travel. It's like, oh wow, this person was here, wonder what
Hmm.
it was like to experience this stuff back before time. And with history that we go through and we look at all these ruins
Yeah.
and stuff, and granted we're not in ruins, we're in a restaurant,
But right, I get what you mean.
and but something else came up that was unexpected. I had foodies telling me, can you describe the food more? Can you describe more of how it tastes, the texture, the looks, this and this and that? They
That's
wanted more
cool.
detail.
Yeah.
And I was like, that, it had nothing, never even crossed my mind. I was like, I'm just going to promote local mom and pop shops as much as possible. Obviously, it just didn't happen like that, but that was the idea because that was a mom and pop shop.
Hmm.
This here, and literally the very first episode, yet again, somebody else was like, "Hey, I'm coming down," and he's messaging Italian Clowns. They're gonna go meet up and go hang out, and I was like, "Hey, wait a second, you're coming down? Yeah, when? Da, da, da. I was like, "You don't mind if I tag along, do you?" And they're like, "No, that's cool." So the three of us were supposed to hang out. Italian Clowns couldn't do it. So last minute, family, it is what it is. He backs
Yep.
out. Midway Monster is the one that comes down from Chicago. I meet up with him in Ybor City,
Hmm.
and I've got my backpack. I've got the microphone. I got the tripod. I've got a couple other things. I got all hanging out in my backpack, and I meet up with him in the parking garage. And I've only seen like a picture of what he looked like, so I'm like relying on one picture that wasn't like a full picture, and he's relying like I don't know what he was relying on. I know my at that point in time, I don't think my face is like actually out there yet. Like
Right.
I don't remember if I actually did a face reveal by then or not. So I see this guy, and I'm like, all right, that looks like him. This is gonna sound so weird. I'm like, yo, Midway Monster? He's like, yeah. I was like, all right, cool, Dreadpool. He's like, oh, okay.
That's
Like trying to
funny.
figure out like who knows me by this down here. So, um, do the formal, hey, how's it going? And I said, I'm sure you're wondering what this is. And he's like, yeah. I was like, it's gonna sound kind of weird, but if you're up to it, do you want to be a guinea pig for the new show? He's like, new show. I'm like, Breaking Bread with Dread. He's like, okay, sounds cool. So
Cool.
we literally went to a gaming restaurant. I'm setting everything up. The manager comes over. Hey, you can't record in here. We're like, what? Like, this is the first episode that, like, are you kidding me? Like, and they're like, yeah, you can't video record in here. I'm like, oh, this isn't a video. This is audio. There's no video here. This is just audio. So I had to sit there and show them how it works. And he's like, yeah, that's just audio. There's no camera here. And he's like, and they're like, oh, all right, all right. We actually got good service. We ended up having a good chat. I'm
Hmm.
actually still working on the last 20 minutes for the past year. I got 20 minutes worth of video to like edit up and change the audio into a video format. I getting into that little writer's block for that piece. I don't know why.
Right.
It's just one of those things. But yeah, we had a great first showing and everything. We ended up playing video games because it's an arcade,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's an adult arcade with drinks and stuff. So we ended up hanging out and yes, and it was like, man, it would have been great to have Italian Clowns here. So and we still haven't done this though. But I let Italian Clowns know. I was like, you know what? That was great. It sucked that you couldn't be here, but Tempest Sun is around the corner. You're around the corner. We should go and go to um, Dave and Buster's.
Oh
And
yeah.
we should do something there. The three of us hang out and do stuff like that, and just we just haven't been able to do it. Still, to this day, we've yet to be able to
Well,
like
hopefully soon.
lock it down. So because I was like, at least if we get the three of us, and then maybe we can get the families or get the families, and then come back with the three of us and do something like that. And I was like, maybe we just do the families, you know, hang out. And then obviously COVID hit with everything going
Right.
on, and that kind of threw off my Breaking Bread with Dread a little bit. So that's why it's not as consistent
Well.
because of all this stuff.
Right. Who can blame you?
It's just one of those things.
Right.
And we were talking about after that, the second go around, where it's just the three of us, open it up ahead of time and let everybody else in the surrounding area know where we would be, so we could all hang out with whatever community member wanted to show up
That's cool.
and hang out with the community, not just the three of us anymore. Not now it's the local community people. I think that would be really cool to do.
Heck yeah.
You know, you saw what happened with E3 back in the day before all this hit. People were hanging out over there. Fan Fest,
Oh yeah.
PAX South. You know, now PAX South has been canceled
Yeah, it's a shame.
for the past couple of years. But you still have PAX East.
Hmm.
I believe PAX West is still going. But it was like, I wanted to go to this. I wanted to go to that. I wanted to do this. But yeah, it's just one of those things. It's just I didn't see it becoming as big. I mean, we've got community members in the UK that I am 100% when I get a chance to get there. I'm gonna have to tell my wife, look, this is gonna be a strictly business trip. We're just gonna go from one bar to the next, hanging
Nice.
out from one person, with one person to the next as we go. It's just nonstop. It's like, and then there's other people in the rest of Europe that it's because it was, obviously, um, England was like more people that I related with at the beginning
Hmm.
of the community, and obviously the community's grown since then. So there'd be like a person over in this country, another person in that country. Now we want to, it's like, wow, I need to do a European tour. So it's not, you remember the week tour,
Yeah,
and from podcast to podcast. Now it's going to be a Breaking Bread tour,
that's cool.
but I haven't been able to do that. And I'm trying to do one down here, but yet again with everything going on, it's so hard to do. And
Right. It'll
I
get better, man. It will get
yeah,
better.
and that's the part. It's not just this. It's obviously family too. That's the hard
Hmm.
part, is trying to do all this. But I did manage to break away and do um, sort of a Breaking Bread with Dread show.
Hmm.
Michael Mullis from Next Level Gaming,
Oh, cool.
right? So I went up to go see the Amico before anybody else could actually get. Well, some people had seen it, but this was like the first. No, this was actually technically the second public showing.
Right.
And so they had a Miko Fest, and I was like, he tells me off on the side, hey, this is what's going on. I was like, dude, that sounds great. Let me know. So he's like, I'm staying at this hotel. I booked the same hotel. He's like, we're going over here. I'm like, all right, cool. So trying to figure all this stuff out. I get my airline tickets. I screwed up. Instead of getting the one where I wanted to be,
Right.
I got it in actual Philadelphia,
Uh-oh.
not Easton. I flew out of Easton, but flew into actual Philadelphia. And I was like, oh no, now what do I do? And Uber was going to cost me over $100. It was almost, I was like,
Ooh.
I think it was like $150.
Right.
I was like, oh man, I can't do that. And then someone's like, well, why don't you just ask Mike? I think he's got to go that way anyway because he's driving past her. I was like, all right, I didn't want to keep pestering this guy, you know. I want to meet him. I don't want to piss him off before I get a chance to meet him, like. So we get there. Oh, I'm sorry. Before we get there, I ask him. I'm like, hey, I kind of screwed up. This is what's going on. I said, what time are you were driving by? Maybe you can pick me up. He's like, you're in luck. Another guy from Texas, Cyrus Martin. He's coming in. He's flying in. He actually flew in an hour after I did, and Mike was on his way to pick him up.
Oh, that's so lucky.
So I got a chance to ride with him and all that. And this is where everything kind of fell apart because we were talking about doing
Oh,
recording, and we
right.
forgot to start. We were talking. We had a great time talking and just BSing, and we're laughing. He brought his son with us, and his son just kept to himself. And we're like, oh man, this would be great for recording. I'm like, I know, but we missed it all. So I went ahead and we started recording, and it was like the greatest 3 hour debacle. It would have been 20 minutes, but we didn't feel like sitting in traffic for a 20-minute drive that would have ended up because of bumper to bumper traffic to be an hour.
Right.
And Mike was busy talking. We were all, conversing about Amico and other things, and just life in general, just shooting away. And I noticed, because I turned on my phone and the GPS because I wanted to make sure that I know which way I'm going too. Even though
Right.
I'm in the back seat, I need to know where I'm going.
Right.
And I've never been here before, so if we got to get out of here, I need to know. And the GPS says make a merge to the right, and he didn't merge to the right. And it says keep left. And I was like, Mike, you gotta merge, you gotta merge. He goes, it just told me to keep left. I said, yeah, on the merge, keep left on the merge. So we missed the exit,
Oh no.
and we're sitting here still talking. We get to the next exit, and it's like, well, we're halfway. We either go back the same way we came, or we keep going. No matter which way at this point in time, it's going to take us the same amount of time to get to our destination. So we just kept on going,
There you go.
and we had a great time recording and all that. So it was, I mean, just last week, or no, it was this past week, a couple nights ago, I had mentioned that he had kidnapped me on a unintentional 3-hour tour. I feel like a victim. Yeah.
That's
It was
funny.
just funny. Just I keep messing with him. He's like, man, you keep bringing it up. I'm like, dude, it was like the greatest story ever.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? You sit here and you're talking about this stuff, and it's if it didn't happen, we wouldn't have anything to talk about. So
Right.
am I razzing on you because of that? Yes, because I lived it. I mean, you don't mess with your friends if
Right.
there's nothing to mess with. All these little screw ups that we do, that's where we mess with each other. That's how
Yeah.
we're supposed to troll each other. We
Right.
troll each other as friends, not the way that we see some of these toxic people are on Twitter.
Right.
But I mean, we had a great time. Cyrus is freaking out, and I'm like throwing references to this and that movie and this horror movie and that thing. My wife's like, that's got nothing to do with it. I said, I know that. Everybody knows that. But it was freaking him out more. There's a shed behind the shed.
That's
And it was like,
funny.
what? So we had a great time, and that's the beauty of this stuff. And that's the whole thing with Breaking Bread is it can just run off the rails and just
Right.
have a good time.
Yeah.
None of this stuff is planned out. None of this stuff is okay. This is what we're gonna do. This is what we're gonna do, and then after that, we're gonna break it down over here and do this. Then we're gonna come up with. No, there is nothing planned. It just happens
Just
as it
happens.
happens naturally. It's
Right.
all organic. You
That's
know,
awesome.
um, we did the festival, and we actually got to play it before we did the festival, the little opening at
Hmm.
Crayola. And I brought everybody upstairs. Well, not everybody. I tried to bring everybody upstairs. It was just so hard. It was so chaotic.
Right.
And and I was able to interview some of these guys and gals on their first impressions. So I got some of that on there. So it was really cool to see
Heck yeah.
the raw first impression of like, wow, now we got our hands on this gaming console that may or may not release.
Right. Right.
Even to this day, we don't know, but it looks like it's gonna, but we don't know, and it's not for
Right.
everybody, and that's the thing. But we got a chance to get our hands on it. Get
Yeah.
if
That's
if
cool.
I could do that with the Xbox, I'd be doing the same thing. What's the
Yeah.
next
Yeah.
Xbox? Get me on there. I want to do this.
There you go. There you go.
So we had a great time, and that was I want to do that again. I'm glad I got the opportunity to meet up with these guys, these
Hmm.
people, and create friendships with people that are complete strangers.
Right.
And that's the beauty of gaming is
Oh yeah.
whether this thing comes out or not, we all gamed together. We all had fun. We were competitive. We were
Yeah.
supportive of each other. We had great times
Yeah.
talking about it, playing, laughing,
That's awesome.
jabbing and throwing elbows at each other, like trying to make sure you're the top scorer.
Right. Right.
So we had a fun time, and that's what I want to do again. That's why I want to get back out there, and that was the whole
I think you'll
intent.
get there.
Yeah, that's the whole intent of Breaking Bread is
Yeah.
meeting up with people. We've got Mav over in Texas, Fork
Yeah,
Boys in Texas. Um, there's quite a few other people that way. So it's like Fastback from Next Level Gaming is over there. PAX South was a great opportunity to go over there,
right.
do
But not
the
now. Yep.
PAX South, and meet up with these people.
Yep.
You know, so I've already looked at where you're at, and I've already tried to like figure out routes to go and be like,
Work us
okay,
out.
if I aim it this way,
The Dreadpool road trip.
yeah, literally, it was gonna be a road trip to drive a few hours, hit this person up, drive a few more hours, hit this other person. I'm like, man, I'm gonna be fat by the time I come back. I'm gonna be like,
Not
I
like
need to
me
get.
though. Woohoo.
Uh, they're gonna be
uh,
rolling me back.
That's funny. That's funny. Well, Dred, let's kind of as we wrap things up here. Let me get to a couple of quick more questions, and then we're
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
talk about all your where everybody can find you on social media, and then also you have a really nice merchandise section, which is really cool. We'll let them know about that as well, and everything will be also in the description below. So please click on that and peruse. We'll have all that information there for you. But I like to go with, I guess, what is your favorite game or franchise of all time that you've ever played? What is something that you're like, man, I really, and it can be more than one if you have to, but what's the big one for you?
Um, I'm gonna have to say the big one is gonna be Halo.
There you go.
I mean, a lot of my streams right recently has been Halo. I like playing Halo on the highest difficulty possible, except for this one.
Right.
I'm on heroic. I'm not on the highest. I got stuck on the
I'm on
last.
easy. Just telling you.
So, but no, Halo is the series has been great because of the friends that I've made through it.
Hmm.
The story, you know what? It's not for everybody, and each version of the story as it's progressed has been a hit or miss for different people. The multiplayer, same thing, hit or miss for different people. Um, but it's always an easy game for everybody to get together. It's hard not to be able to get together and shoot each other. You know what I mean?
Right.
This game is so easy to just get in. Even people that are expertly skilled can get outgunned
Yeah.
if you play right, right? Because you can be so good that you can play by yourself, but yet Halo is not about that. Halo has always been about teamwork,
Yeah.
communication, you know. So yeah, you could be great, but you could still get overrun.
Right.
So you might have the highest kills, but you can't carry a team every single time. It
Right.
happens, but not
No,
every single time.
when the game comes, when it finally does come out with co-op, I definitely want to request a playthrough with you on that. I
Oh,
think that'd be fun.
definitely.
So, but
I'll even
when that
I'll
co-op
even
comes,
bring it down to easy for you.
thanks,
We'll,
man.
we'll,
No, you can leave it on hard. You can drag my ass along. I'm just kidding. Maybe we'll find a mid level. How's that?
yeah,
How's,
we can
I'm
find
not
some.
that bad, but I just, a little rusty when it came to Halo. But I love oh man, I love the campaign. It's awesome. To me, it's one of the best for
Well,
last year for sure.
if you want, we could always co-op the Master Chief Collection.
Oh yeah, yeah, we could try that sometime.
I'm still working on. Um, I decided, because I've beat all these games before,
Yeah,
and then when the Master Chief Collection came out, it's 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 had its ups and downs, a lot of downs more than ups, until recently. So, and unfortunately, it's hard to switch from game to game because each control scheme gets different
yeah, it's
each
a
time.
little different, a little different. I love the
But
new one. To me,
yeah,
it's just man,
the new ones, it feels classic and it feels fresh and it feels modern at the same time.
exactly,
It's so
exactly.
hard to,
I love the grappling hook. Best thing
yeah,
they added to the game. To me, I love it.
definitely the best thing. I still
Yeah.
have issues with getting stuck with only using the grappling hook or only using certain things. So it's like,
Right.
God, if I had a elite controller, maybe it would be easier to switch to something
Maybe.
else. But
Yeah.
I'm so busy knowing what I'm on versus like knowing what to switch to.
Yeah. I don't. I'd be honest with you. I don't switch. I just it's a
Yeah,
grappling hook through the whole game for me.
yeah. But when you you get to where I'm at right now,
Oh, well, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
There's probably some differences you need. Yeah.
yeah,
All right. Well,
you
go
missed
ahead.
out. You missed
Yeah.
out on the last part of it, but yeah,
Well,
I
let's.
died like 30 times in a row, at least,
Oh,
probably 50.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I had to come get everything prepped up for this show, but I'm definitely I continue to watch you play. I think it's fun.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask you one more quick question, and then we'll like wrap things up. What is the most anticipated, I guess, or game you're looking forward to the most? We'll reward that a little better. That's not out, but it has been talked about. No secret games or stuff like that, but something that's we know is coming, that you're like, man, I can't wait to get a hold of this. What's that game for you? And yes, it can be more than
Ooh,
one.
ooh, that is a good question. You should have told me this before so I could have researched it.
Well, this way you just get you thinking, like, what's off the cuff, like what's your I get a lot of answers that I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense, and then a lot of them like, wow, I didn't think about that game. So there you go.
Yeah, there's two.
That's fair enough.
There's two. And I'll give you the first one
Okay.
as the backup, right? We'll
Okay.
give you the honorary mention, and that's Perfect Dark.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not worried about it. I
Mm-mm.
don't care when it comes out. I just want them to make sure they make it and
Yeah.
they make it right. They do it justice and they make it, whatever they need to do to either have its own legs, to have it, but at least have the legacy, right? I don't care if it's first person, third person, whatever.
Or a mix of both would be
Just,
cool.
yeah, just make sure you hold on to the legacy. I'm all about when you do series that you abide by the lore.
Yeah.
Right, you have to abide by it because then what's the point? Just call it something else, you know. So Perfect Dark is that backup, the honorary mention. And again, everything I just said about Perfect Dark falls true for this one. Fable.
Oh, yeah.
Fable is one of my other favorite games from Microsoft, Xbox, whichever. Same difference, right?
Right.
Um, and what I've seen so far, I know it's CGI. I know it's not in game. I know it's not this. I know it's not that, and I don't care. It the concept
Mm-hmm.
of the original game with what Peter Molyneux came up with was awesome. Obviously, they could not make that sliver of grass regrow itself properly, or that tree grow or not grow, depending on what you did
Right.
in that field. But the whole concept was phenomenal. Just thinking about that, right? And the bandits that you fought, you cleared out this area, but you're not there enough. They're supposed to have like, okay, well, if you're not there enough, somebody else is going to go there. They could be stronger, they could be weaker. You don't know. Nobody could show up. It's just obviously the same scenario as it always is. It's just
Mm-hmm.
you're higher level. Now they put somebody else in that same area that's higher level, so you have a challenge, yada yada. But if they keep that idea and their humor, and that's they have to keep that humor in there.
Yeah, the humor's key.
I hope they bring the twins back. I know they're dead, they're ghosts, but bring them back. I don't care if they're ghosts again or if they're reboot or reimagining, whatever. But I
Right.
think the twins need to come back. I think that would be a nice honor um, for the actual game, not just for the people, the devs. But I think if they do Fable right, it'll be amazing. And so that's what I'm looking forward to. It's just unfortunately it's not going to be this year. I can guarantee
Right.
that.
Yeah. But I like you said, man, I'd rather them bake it to where it comes out right instead of trying to rush it and miss
Yeah,
some ingredients, kind of thing, to where
yeah.
it's going to be a perfect version of Fable and Perfect Dark. So there you go. Dreadpool, dude, thank you so much for being on the show today. I
Oh,
I loved it, man. It was great, and like I said, the reason I do this is because you find out lots about people that had no idea. So this is awesome. So thank you for sharing, and I really appreciate your time today.
Oh, not a problem. Thank you for having me. Like I said, I had fun. It's always fun interacting and
Hmm.
talking about certain things, and it wasn't all about me. We had some about you
Yeah, a little bit, a little
a
bit.
little bit.
So what? Where can everybody find you on the social medias? And of course, everything will be in the show notes too. But let you explain it and hit them up there too.
Okay, Breaking Bread with Dread. We'll start with that one first, right?
Hmm.
That is on anchor.fm/dreadpool, all letters, all caps. You can also find Breaking Bread with Dread on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcast, Amazon, Outcast, Outbox, Castbox, Tune In, Public Radio. Just any podcast station pretty much has it. They
Yeah,
somehow have collected up the RSS feed and just brought it into themselves.
it's nice, isn't it?
So it's really, yeah. I At one point in time I started going through trying to push, and it was like I hit over 18 different places. So
Yeah.
I was kind of flabbergasted on that. I couldn't believe it. So anyway, then that's Breaking Bread with Dread. Um, Gaming Beyond the Box Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. Eastern, with Wilmy Hood and the crew, and then Friday mornings at 10 a.m. breakfast with Boom,
Oh yeah.
with
Yeah.
yours truly, WebDave.
Oh well,
Yeah,
I'm very
and
blessed to be on there with you guys.
yeah, it's been great. And then for everything else, if you just look up linktree.com/dreadpool,
Hmm.
it's got all the links to everything. It's got YouTube/dreadpool, Twitter at dreadpool. The O's there are zeros.
Hmm.
I even have TikTok at dreadpool. I even have um, what the heck's his other one called? It's called
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hover GG. So I'm on there too. I haven't been doing as many shorts, but I try to do shorts, and I try to bring them across. So if you see it on TikTok, please like it.
Well, I want to see
If you,
I'm making a request for TikTok right now. I'm putting a request in
all
for the
right.
break dancing with the Dreadpool
Oh, you're gonna see the old
TikTok
man break his
clip.
back more so.
Heck yeah! Woohoo! Whoa, man! Whatever, whatever. You're not that old, not compared to me, anyway. So
You never
yeah.
know.
Well, and plus too, I know if they click on if they go to your Twitter, Twitter has it right there at the top for you as well. Plus, I'll put that as in the description as well.
Yeah.
If people click on it, but it also has your merchandise page, which you have a really good selection of some really cool Dreadpool merchandise.
Oh,
So
thank you. Yeah.
from leggings, t-shirts, coffee mugs, and reasonably priced too, and hoodies and stuff. So I think definitely if people are into the Dreadpool or want something cool to like make somebody do a double take, a double take, I should say, then definitely want to do the Dreadpool t-shirts and stuff because it's good stuff, man. Good merch.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I actually have one that I'm working on now. I've got my samples already. They look very sweet.
Nice.
Yeah, it turned out better than I expected. So far, I think it's uh, better than what I've put out there so far. But it's a blend of what I've already put out, but it's not.
Very cool. Very cool.
And
All
you'll
right.
probably see it when I debut it. I'll show it to you.
Nice, man. I appreciate that.
So,
Awesome, awesome. And of course, I will see you again on Friday, every Friday morning. I like that.
yes.
I like that.
And
Well,
again,
again,
thank you.
you're most welcome, man.
Really
Like,
appreciate this. This has
well,
been, like I said, it's been fun.
it has been fun.
Yeah.
Both sides, I think so. And I really appreciate you being here. And thanks everybody for watching us. You can check us out at outbreakpodcast.com. That's our website where you got links to all of our social media. Or obviously, if you're watching on YouTube, it's Outbreak on YouTube. But anyway, we're also available on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and such. So please, thank you so much for joining us here at Outbreak Gamers.